Hello, everyone. Welcome to Women Seeking Wholeness. I'm Cherie Burton. This is episode 153. Mindfulness is gold. Just a little play on words that includes the name of our guest, Mellara Gold. She is a yoga and meditation teacher, an intuitive healer, and author of the best-selling memoir, A Life Worth Living, a journey of self-discovery through mindfulness, yoga, and living in awareness. She's got such an interesting story. She's going to detail some of it with us. She was a Hollywood actress. She had a suicide attempt that woke her up, and she found a teacher, a guru, if you will, who helped her transmute all of these painful and very marked experiences into her own kind of mindfulness practice, into her own way, which I think is really the point of this episode, is to show you how to map out your own path with mindfulness. And I also like to call it heartedness. Also wanted to remind you that I would love to hear your comments, questions, feedback about any and all episodes or just the podcast in general. I have a link in the show notes to a place where you can leave a voice message. So check that out. Love to hear from you. Remember to ask to join our private Facebook group, Women Seeking Wholeness. You'll receive some fun freebies, and follow us on Instagram, cherie.burton. Now on to my interview with Mellara Gold. Mellara, I'm so happy that you're joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
It feels like a divine encounter through our mutual friend, Jennifer Selig, who has this wonderful publishing company, who was a mentor of mine at Pacifica and helping me get into the right frame of mind and space to get my story out. So Dr. Jennifer Selig, she's amazing.
Oh yeah. No. Oh my goodness. She came to me at the right time. And I have a bit of a story of how I really felt like she was the one. And she defines femininity for me, like a strong feminine energy, and just wanting to get meaningful stories out into the world. And I'm so grateful to be with her.
Yeah. So she has such a powerful mission and presence. And I love it when she sends me people that she has worked with, and you being, of course, one of them. But I want to start, Mellara, with your story because it's so compelling. And I'm holding your book right here, A Life Worth Living, a journey of self-discovery through mindfulness, yoga, and living in awareness. How you came into that is really fascinating. But let's start. I mean, you were raised on Australia's Gold Coast. And I told you earlier, that is one of my absolute favorite places on the planet. I have dear friends in Australia, but I took my son, Noah, who was then 16 and is now 25, with me on one of my trips out there because I have some business stuff I do out there. And I had this experience that I've never really had before with land. Like, I remember it was just that time of the day where the sun was starting to go down. And of course, if any of you have ever been to the Gold Coast, it's absolutely stunning. The coastline is absolutely breathtaking. And I can't imagine being raised there. But anyway, so Noah and I we weren't talking. We were just looking out at the ocean. I was holding a green smoothie. I do remember that. And I just got this, all I can say with this infusion from the land. It just felt like liquid gold was literally pouring through me. And I turned to my son and I said, "Are you feeling that?" And he's like, "What?" Because he was a teenager and he thought I was weird. Yeah. But I'm like, vibing. I literally told him, I'm like, vibing. This is amazing. And I just basked in it. And then I had him take a picture of me because I wanted to capture just how beautiful everything felt. It felt so alive. I don't know how to explain it, but all the elements combined for me to just have the most embodied experience in that moment. So thank you, Gold Coast, for bringing that to me. And anyway, it's brought a lot to me, but you were raised there. You were raised on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
And you always knew you wanted to be an actress, or?
Well, that's a great question. Look, I think that I knew that I wanted more from myself. I felt like I wanted to really, honestly, if I could go back in that time, I probably was looking for love on the outside. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it reminds me of Sally Field when she's up and she's getting her Oscar, and she says, "Oh, you love me. You really love me.
You really love me."
And it's like, yeah, you really love me. And it's like, I got these, like, I started modeling when I was 10, and I got these like just little bit things, nothing huge, but I felt seen with the camera. I felt loved with that genre and just being out. And I also felt like it was my ticket out of my suffering. And, my childhood was pretty disruptive for me, and very traumatic. And so I felt like if I could, transform and become this, beautiful international actress, well, I could bypass my pain. I mean, I don't know if I thought that back then, bypass my pain, but I definitely knew that I didn't want to stay where I was. And I thought that was my ticket. It was my outer beauty, because I knew I was pretty, and, not in a, I'm the best thing ever way. Just, I knew that could be a way that opened doors for me. And how can I do this? And how can I just get out of my, poverty? And I just wanted more. So, yeah. And the Gold Coast is just such a, I don't know, when you grow up somewhere so removed from the rest of the world, you feel like you're not almost part of the world. So you get very adventurous, and you almost know, well, I can go anywhere. This isn't going to be where I finish. At least that was my perspective.
And so you literally went to Hollywood to become an actress. Literally.
That's it.
And you had some fun roles, and you had, crossed that off the bucket list, right? Who does that? But you had these pain points. I was reading your journey in your book, and it's just like, you mentioned some trauma from childhood, and, coming into the space now where you have this relationship with film and the visual arts and the camera, and just sort of being fed for being, or you could say you were being fed and reinforced because of your physical beauty, but then also you were gifting that to others as well. And everything has a light and a shadow side to it, That's Hollywood being one of them, obviously. So take us to the place where it sort of all started to come down for you. So where things started to surface that you recognized were unresolved or unhealed issues.
Yeah. So firstly, I picked a partner that emulated a lot of my own parents and myself characteristics. So I definitely picked up what I needed to learn. So I, married this partner who, just was very manic at times and depressed and just very much the same as me, just all over the shop and, not really knowing who I was, still trying to find myself. And yoga was creeping in very slowly, but not quick enough to where I was at my lowest point. I was the actress is waitressing or waiting on tables. And so I was doing that, and I was starting shifts at 11 o'clock at night and ending at 4 a.m. So I'm a morning person. So I didn't know that back then, but I know it now. It really messed me up mentally, even more than what I even was. And so I felt ungrounded. I didn't feel connected to myself. I felt like nobody loves me, woe is me, victim. Like I was in a bath. I had taken some soma pills to quell my back pain because I was up waitressing all night. And I thought, you know what? Fuck it. No one cares about me. I hope I can swear.
Yeah, you're okay. You're all right.
No. Yeah, thank you for that. And it was just a really hard time. And then I knew I took too many pills. I thought, then what have I done? And then I'm in this bath, and then I thought, well, maybe if I just take Tylenol PM and I'll just kind of, I'll be okay. And then silly me, I'm like 19 years old. And so I take that, and then suddenly I'm getting out of the bath and just, vomiting. I'm naked, and my husband at the time, he's there, and then I'm being, wheeled off and into an ambulance. And I was at my lowest. I did not want to be in the world anymore. I didn't plan to not be in the world anymore. This was like in the moment, I am so sick of the pain and I'm going to end it now. And so once I was in the psychiatric ward, because I had to stay for 4 days, first of all, I was horrified because I am never going to do this again. I can't believe I took it to this level. And so I felt a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, and I blamed myself. I was so hard on myself. And I thought, I'm never, ever going to do this again. And then, yoga came in because I had these 5 bulging discs. So the yoga was, my next avenue, because the pain pills were not working. They were destroying my body, destroying my mind. And so then I was addicted to yoga classes. I'd have 12 schedules in my car, and I would go to at least 2 classes every day.
That's an interesting addiction. I think I have an addiction to not doing yoga. But you were trying to fill this place in you, and you were drawn into it. Maybe, I'm guessing, because you picked up that there was a spiritual path with it that was going to be integral to your healing.
Well, it's funny you say that. I didn't know if it was spiritual back then. Back then, I was just needing the physical pain to dissipate. Mm-hmm. So I was getting really into Iyengar yoga, and that's the way to allow the muscles and the bones to be more integrated. Mm-hmm. And so I would just take pranayama classes, breathing, and I realized after time that it was calming me, and I was being more connected to my true self, my truest nature. I could see that then. And then I was like, geez, this is something. And doors kept opening for yoga. Like mm-hmm. I didn't ask to be a teacher, and I didn't ask for yoga to come to me, but it did show up. And so then, at 20 years old, I went into teacher's training, like right away. Mm. So like 1999, I'm in my 47th year now. Mm. So yeah, I started teachers training very young, and just fell in love. And then acting just started to take a back seat because I wasn't wanting to reject myself anymore. I was getting a lot of rejection with the acting, and it was kind of like God's way of putting up boundaries into an area that wasn't really for me. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Just closing doors to that so he could open another. He could open another.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, so your marriage started to crumble, and you got out, and kind of walk us through the moment where you crossed over from maybe an emphasis on your physicality into your spirituality.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like that was dormant for a while, to tell you the truth. I feel like that remained quite dormant until, maybe not. No, I needed to know the masculine. So I went back to Australia after my second marriage. So I married again, and then I was about 25 when I married again. And then I moved back to Australia for only 10 months. And then the spiritual spiritual side, astrology, and all of that stuff started to come into me. And that was quite profound. I feel like I had a similar experience to you, sitting on the beach, just saying, why did I ever leave this place? How could I have ever left it? But then there was unfinished business to do. I turned around and came back here again. So I find that very interesting.
Los Angeles.
And, I went straight back to Los Angeles after 10 months. It felt like my home, but it also felt like I wasn't part of that home, since I had spent most of my adult life in a different place. And I even sounded different. Like I would get made fun of, oh, you sound like a Yank now, and so, yeah. So that was happening as well. And then the spirituality came in more when I met Chana, and I was getting close to 40 years old.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute, because he ended up being just this master teacher for you and just really changing the trajectory of your life and really the facilitator of your healing. And we were talking about this earlier. There's always an instant on the heroine's journey, perhaps many, where you meet the teacher, someone who holds that elixir, that lesson, or guides you to your true soul path. And you found that person.
Yeah, he was everything that I could see myself to be. When I was in his presence, that very first time of meeting him, my whole heart exploded open. It was, tears just flooding for unknown reason, just tears flooding. He's chanting Pali. He's putting mala beads. It sounds very dramatic, but it really was. To me, it was, and then he says, do you know what you're supposed to do? And he's in this like trance state. Do you know what you're supposed to do here? And I'm like, oh my God, is he thinking Melbourne, Australia? Or like what? Oh, I think I'm supposed to help heal people. I mean, I was just like really just taken aback of the energy of that. It was like a meeting again of not only his soul, but a meeting again of my own, and starting to come into wholeness.
So there was a deep recognition or an awareness maybe of, hey, this person's going to be integral to my path. And those meetings are never by chance. They're, when you look back on them, even if you don't have a pronounced experience like you did, where you were very emotional and whatever, even just a little divine spark of like, oh, there's something here. I think it matches to how much you need it as to how strongly it expresses. So yours was a really marked, definitive, like line in the sand. Oh gosh. And all the emotion came out, probably because you were so ready and so open to his presence and how you were experiencing him.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. I just
love
that I love that you said that, because I also think it was my soul's call. I'll take you back. So October of 2014, I'm sitting in a bathtub, and it's all the bad or good things happen in the bathtub. I'm sitting in the bathtub. My girlfriend, who's American, who spent 5 years in Australia, sent me this YouTube link, and she said, "This is my teacher. I would love for you to meet him one day." And the community, the intentional community. I watched this 2-minute YouTube video. I was so drawn to being there and to wanting to be there. And I kid you not, we moved there by February when my American husband got the job. I mean,
because you got remarried. You got remarried and ended up having 2 kids?
We have 2 kids, Leela and Charlie, and one's a teenager, one's preteen, and life is, it's a life worth living.
Yeah, just like your book says. So when you began to consciously engage with this community, and I just want to say here, I am really sensitive to gurus now, because I recognize that sometimes, even in the best circumstances and with the most enlightened people, there can be this tendency for certain groups to become sort of insular and maybe cult-like, or the leader can go out of alignment very quickly. It doesn't matter how spiritual they are. There's always that, how did you come to a place of trust with that? And how did you know that this teacher wasn't, because there is this, again, point on the heroine's journey. And I want to make this clear that, and the guru is maybe not the right word, but it's almost like a mentor comes forward, or someone that you're meant to sort of attach to for a season. And so how did you know that forming this attachment to him was healthy?
Oh, you just asked the best question. So I didn't know. All I knew was love. This was just like, I fell to his feet. Like,
because he had that, because he embodied love, right? Yeah.
He embodied the unconditional love of parents that I never had, that I never thought I had. So when he came into my life, it was the most incredible, loving presence, where I felt seen, where I could see my own light through his. And I did feel very codependent. I got to know all of these different things about me, and, good or not so great. And because wholeness isn't about just seeing the light. Wholeness for me is about seeing these places where I get caught up. And so through my relationship with him, I was very caught up, and it wasn't obviously just with him. It would have been many other, and it was other relationships, but I could see it through with being with him. But I didn't see it until at least a couple of years into it. The first couple of years was just bliss. And it was just me being devoted, and we'd go to Bali and we would do all these wonderful retreats together. And it felt like for me that I was picking up on a lifetime that I had done before.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how did you move into your work then, your purpose?
Yeah. So purpose to me is, it's a huge question.
It's loaded.
It's so loaded.
You have lots of purposes.
Lots of other, different roles. But I feel like after this experience, my purpose is to live fully in each moment. I mean, really, that's where it is for me. And but I feel like there was just a time where I could see that I was needing to. I didn't know where my teacher started and I finished. I felt like we had become one unit. And I was starting to realize through the writing of the book and through the process of writing the book, it was very hard to write. It was about the codependency and the fact that it just wasn't quite healthy for me. And I feel like I just got to know more of who I am, and I'm still in contact with Shauna. I love him with all my being, but now I'm my sovereign being, and he's whatever he is, So it was.
He helped you lay that foundation, and once you received the training, the gift, whatever, the elixir, then you graduated.
Yeah, it was my coming of age at 40 again.
Well, it's never too late. I want to read this one part in your book where you talked about him, and you were talking about the process of meditation and the quiet sitting and whatnot. You kind of moved into this whole energy of awareness. You said one time at the cafe after class, Chana talked about the energy of awareness. He said that with awareness, We cultivate a force that brings no harm and is always healing, that living in awareness showers a floral fragrance that reaches everywhere. Awareness keeps our dignity intact and allows us to experience true freedom. So I really like that metaphor of the floral fragrance, that's a tongue twister, floral fragrance that goes out. It's not something, it's a force, but it's beautiful, and it's got an essence that is felt or sensed, that we don't have to have so much work put into being in our essence. So when I asked you what your purpose is, I think he taught you that is the highest purpose, right? Is to have this energy of awareness and love and bringing that sweetness and beauty to wherever we are.
Absolutely. He definitely helped me to see that, because I feel like that's the number one thing that he teaches, that, unconditional love. And the blue sky of awareness, that's us. That's just our blueprint. That's where we've come from. That's where we're going to go. And these lessons are clouds, or these life situations are clouds in the sky, but they're not who we are. And so I got to really learn that, and still I need to practice it. It's not a done deal. No. It's like an everyday, like even before chatting with you, I'm praying and I'm opening up my heart, and it's even especially.
Yeah. Well, I love sort of how you culminate your life experiences at the end and sort of encapsulate, the things you took from Shauna as you moved forward. Going back to, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. It's just a very universal law. Once the teacher has taught the things, and I think that sometimes we get stuck in either a religious system or you could say a spiritual community, even a yoga path with a community. And there comes a time where you sort of emancipate yourself, and you use the word sovereign. And I love that word. It's one of my favorite words. That's the end goal. We are all interconnected, and we are all one. And it sounds like you had a union with this teacher that was very healthy, and you understood oneness and how people can come together in, you could say, basic humanity love, or that spiritual fusion, if you will. And that's, I think, what we're moving into in the collective. But coming back to once you've internalized or maybe integrated the lessons of the teacher, then you get to go forward and be a quote unquote teacher of the way, of this way of being, this way of love, which I believe is what Jesus was, and Buddha and everyone were trying to teach, was this way. So so when you knew that it was time to move forward, what was the next thing there waiting for you? What was there to catch you or show you?
I think the routine of my life, I don't think it was anything very glamorous or special. I think that that's one of my biggest lessons is, or maybe all of us, just that the routine and the specialness and the mundane is the awareness of the life that we would really need to cherish. The folding of the laundry, the baking of the food for the children to eat, the kissing on the forehead of the husband when he goes off to work, or, just these gentle moments that may never come again. And if they do, we're fortunate. I think that I just kind of threw myself into my normalcy of the mundane and just, brought myself up from that place so that I could be very humble in my approach, walk my walk, because that's really what it is about for me. I can only teach what I know and what I experience in my day to day, not what I've done before. And so, but that comes with us, of course, what we come before. But I think I really had to ground myself in my actual life and just be like, this is it. This is what you're doing. And mother myself, be my own mother, my own best mother, cook for myself, like everything Chana taught. Like he would make these elaborate Sri Lankan dishes. Well, I went ahead and started to do that. Probably not as elaborate as him. But just in my own way. And I brought that essence into my own family. And to this day, when I feel like I need to raise my vibration, I'll cook those lentils, and it will always bring me back to a place of feeling like I'm connected to myself. Yeah. And
I want to I love everything you're saying because I relate to it. I mean, the power of doing nothing and feeling the void, feeling like you're in the void of still point creation where there's, infinite possibility. And like you talked about the normalcy of life, that is a spiritual practice. Life is a spiritual practice. Life is a big yoga mat. And I like to envision in my mind, this is what's helped me as I'm moving into some new territory myself. When I have the awareness, like you said, that energy of awareness that we read earlier in your book it's almost like somebody's got a Tibetan bowl and they ding it. Like, here we go. Here comes the meditation, but it's a breathing, walking, awake and aware meditation. I remember when I was really devoutly religious, and I kind of liken my religious experience to what you said about Chana, where there was a season that it filled me, and I felt this devotion to my leaders. And then it was just like, you know what? I'm ready to move forward and do this my way. I'm ready to take this into my life and as a foundation, and I'm grateful for it. But now it's time to be a sovereign. Now it's time to be the essence of actual me instead of what the system would have me be. So in saying that, I stopped trying so hard. I stopped trying to hit all these qualification markers that would have given me a lot of cultural acceptance in my religious community. And I decided that the best way that I could live my life is in devotion to the I am inside of myself and to the way of love. And sometimes that way, unfortunately, bucks up against traditional systems like religions and, all of the stuff we're talking about with patriarchy, and it comes up with every single interview. It's just there. This is the time of the awakening. This is the time of the feminine rising. So for you, when you recognize that your life was a prayer, your life was a meditation, your life was a yoga practice, if you will, or being in community without physically being in community, you're at one with just your everyday life. You're at one with everything. So I'm going to read this part, and then I want us to round out your story with this piece, because I really love how you put this together at the end of your book. Spoiler alert. I won't give definitive things, but just this piece is so pretty. Now, when I sit quietly, I ask myself, who am I? Who is carrying this body? The answer is not my identity, gender, or thoughts, but what I'm feeling and sensing inside. Sometimes I meditate on acceptance. I longed for my mom's acceptance, but she could never offer it, or she was too wounded herself. Now, trusting my own inner voice, that my voice does matter, makes me a better parent and partner, and perhaps a better daughter too, as I accept, forgive, and love my parents as they are. Through inquiries like these, I discover more and more about myself. I love that. Do you want to expound on any of that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I wrote this, I felt like this was coming home. Like it just felt like I could finally be with myself, that who I was looking for was always inside. You know, she was always in myself, and with a capital S, and that it was freeing. I felt like just like no more baggage. I didn't have to carry around that big boat anymore. And it just, you know, and I am still in community because I teach with our little community that we have here. So, you know, the normalcy also involved community. I have a studio where I teach in my backyard, and I also teach online. So, you know, I was still interacting with a Sangha, but it wasn't like it was in Melbourne. It wasn't like this, you know, bigger place. And I just feel like in accepting ourselves and loving ourselves, we're able to do that more with other people. And I felt like I was able to even be more present for my community and present for my teenage daughter. And I think it was the tipping point for the rest of my life to really just feel good in my skin for a change, right? To really feel like it's okay to be me. In fact, I'm supposed to be me. I'm not supposed to be my teacher. I'm not supposed to be anyone but me.
Mm-hmm. And you're now a really sought after yoga teacher, right? You're still practicing as a yoga instructor.
This is what I do. I have mostly also a lot of privates. I do a lot of mentoring and private spiritual counseling and things like that, of that nature. And I really teach what I have been able to give myself. And that's it.
Well, it's lovely that you've been able to integrate that. How can people find your book, Mellara?
So my book can be found on Amazon, and you can just pick it up and look for A Life Worth Living, but look for the cover with the beautiful lady, which to me feels like the reader. Like it doesn't.
If you're looking on YouTube, I'm holding it up. Those of you watching on YouTube or listening. Yes, I love the cover. And I love that, you know, you can, I don't know. I'm just always inspired by people who put the rawness of their story out there and take us into those places where they descended and ascended. And I think we've established, you know, life is just one big ascent and descent process, a death and rebirth process. So it'll be interesting to see where you go from here and what's next on your evolution.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, it ain't over until it's might be over. And even then, are we really born and are we really dead? I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's all one, just this grand cycle. And we get to have these bodies and have these relationships and have these beautiful communities that we pop in and out of, whether we're the one creating a container for it or we're part of a larger community. We all need each other and we're all walking each other home. And yeah, I just think that your story really encapsulates that. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for your generosity of spirit and just, you know, chatting about my book to all your folks. And I'm just grateful to be here. And I forgot to mention that Mellara.com is where you can find me. So MELLARA.com.
And I will definitely put that in the show notes. Thank you so much, Mellara. It's been a joy to talk to you.
Thank you so much. I hope you have a beautiful day.
Thanks for listening, friends, this week. I hope you can take the inspiring pieces of Mellara's life and kind of look at your own. You know, I've been mapping out my life while I'm writing my timeline for my memoir, and holy cow, it's been so interesting to see my whole life come into view and into focus as I'm looking at ways in which I was mindful, ways I wasn't, trying not to be in judgment about it. And actually, it's quite healing and in theory and in practice to go back and heal those places in my life where I didn't have mindfulness with radical self-compassion that I have now for myself. So mother yourself, the normalcy, the routine, and the mundane. That is the practice. That is the gold. Thank you to Mellara for reminding us of that. Again, you can find her on Mellara.com. mindfulness.com, and have yourself a beautiful week. We'll talk to you next week actually, on Women Seeking Wholeness.